I'm Janet, and video for the final in our series, we are back one last time with Christina, the provider, and quality improvement coach, Therese, to cover communication around your PIP project.
I am happy to report that my team came up with some really great SMART goals, and we feel like we have a good plan to achieve them.
I am so glad to hear that. Having clear goals outlined in your PIP charter will be the key to a successful project.
So we're wondering what's left to do. We feel like we have a solid plan and we're ready to go.
Okay, well, the last component I want to talk to you about is arguably the most important, since it'll set your team up for success. And that is communication.
Communication?
Yes, I know it doesn't sound like much of a secret, but in my experience, good communication is crucial to success. It guarantees that all of your stakeholders are aware of the quality improvement efforts, and that in turn promotes support for the change. So you'll need to consider the content and frequency of communication with each stakeholder group.
So what does communicating about the project look like?
Well, it will vary depending on the stakeholder group.
So to effectively communicate about our PIP, we need to consider different approaches to sharing the information about the project.
You've got it.
So how do we know what approach will be most helpful for each group?
So a good place to start is by considering a few questions. Who needs to know what and when? What methods of communication already exist within your community? Are the existing methods of communicating effective or appropriate for the project?
Those questions sound really helpful. Can we work through them for each group?
Of course. Okay, so first let's start with your project team. Good communication is essential to uniting the team on the strategies to meet your goals. It helps to clarify roles and tasks and project requirements, but it doesn't stop there. It's also important to ensure you have effective meetings to help your team maintain momentum.
I'm glad you mentioned meetings. This is my first time being a project champion, so I've never run a meeting before. What does that involve?
An effective meeting involves keeping team members updated on progress, as well as problem solving any issues that might come up as you go.
So what should I consider when setting up meetings for my team?
With meetings, there are two main things to consider. First is the frequency. Do you meet daily, weekly, bi-weekly, or once a month? Second is the mode. Will it be a formal sit-down meeting or a quick team huddle in passing? Will it all be in person or will you check in via email? There's no right or wrong answer, and the strategies you use will differ depending on the project and your team's preferences.
Okay, so I should talk to my team to decide how we want to meet and how often. But as the project champion, they'll be looking at me to lead the meetings. How should I go about doing that?
Yes, great question. Another important part of team communication is setting expectations, so everyone knows what to expect and their responsibility in relation to the project. I recommend running your meetings as a retrospective.
Retrospective?
Yes. How it works is that each team member comes to the meeting prepared to share three things. One, what they've been working on. Two, what they plan to work on next. And three, if they're encountering any issues or anticipating any issues to moving forward. If any issues are reported, you'll work together as a team to find solutions.
That sounds easy enough.
It is. It ensures a level of accountability across all team members. Everyone knows what's expected of them when they come to the meeting. Also, by making a point to talk about any issues, real or anticipated, team members know they're not in it alone, and the project can maintain momentum.
Yeah, I think that will be really helpful, actually. But what about the other stakeholder groups? Do I need to run meetings with them?
Not necessarily. How and what you communicate to the other groups will likely be very different than what the team needs to know.
Okay, since we're doing a project that would benefit the residents and hopefully improve family satisfaction with their care, how do we determine what they need to know?
I think both will not only appreciate being informed of the specific changes, but also your efforts in general. especially if the project is in response to feedback or concerns expressed by them, like what you're focusing on now.
Okay, makes sense. But what kind of information should we share with them?
They'll want to know the basic details about the program, what it is, and what the expected outcomes are. Do you have any ideas for how you'll share information with families?
Actually, yes. I think we could do an announcement at our resident and family council meetings when we start the project. We could also put the information in the community newsletter for anyone who doesn't attend the meetings. And it would also be easy to do updates at the council meetings throughout the duration of the project.
Those are great ideas. I love how you're leveraging existing means of communication. That's great.
And it feels totally doable, too. Okay, so I have a clear understanding of what communication should look like within my project team, as well as with the residents and families. But what do I need to communicate with staff outside the project team?
So for all other staff, you want to consider different strategies to both inform them of the changes and to motivate them to engage in the change efforts.
Informing and motivating. Okay, that definitely sounds like a different approach than the other two groups.
Yes, it's crucial that all staff are aware of the project and know what's expected of them to help with the success of the program. And if you find fun ways to motivate staff, it'll encourage them to adopt the change. This is especially important for the PAL card project, as you're making PAL cards for staff that are likely not on your team. You'll need to educate them on how to use the cards and your expectations of their use.
That makes so much sense. If people don't know what something is, how would they know to use it?
Exactly. So some examples of things you could do would be providing updates during team meetings, huddles, town halls, in-services, email or messaging systems, bulletin boards, or staff newsletters. Would any of those ideas work for your community?
Oh, yes. We have team huddles on every shift and do a town hall meeting every quarter. We also have a bulletin board in the break room near where everyone clocks in, and we regularly post information there.
That's great. I would recommend taking advantage of those opportunities to let staff know about the PAL card project and what's expected of them.
We can do that. Okay, now what about staff motivation?
The first thing you could do would be to simply recognize their efforts, as well as celebrate any successes. The idea is you want to reinforce the behavior you want to see through recognition. This is also where you could have some fun by creating games or contests with incentives. You'll definitely want to consider what resources are available for motivating staff, awards or benefits, and remember, you may need approval.
I think I already have a fun idea. What if I did a preference scavenger hunt? After placing all the cards on the floor, I could make a list of the preferences and ask staff to identify who they belong to. Like, who loves to watch Channel 11 news every night at 6 p.m., or who wants to read the newspaper every morning with their coffee? We could offer a small prize, like a candy bar or a gift card.
I love that idea. That's a fun way to get staff to both read the cards and reward them for doing so. I think that's great.
Me too. I'm getting excited now. This will be so fun. Is there anything else to consider when it comes to communicating with the staff?
Yes. The last thing you'll want to think about is the frequency. Staff may need more frequent reminders as they learn to incorporate the PAL cards into their workflow, but less once they get the hang of it. Then after that, maybe it's just friendly reminders during quarterly town hall meetings and informing new staff during their orientation.
Okay, that's easy enough. You've given me some really great tips to think about. I'm feeling very confident that our team is set up for success. I think we can launch next month. Thanks so much for your help.
I can't wait to hear how it goes. Remember to record all of your plans in your PIP charter, as that will serve as your project resource for all steps moving forward.
In this final video, Christina and Therese focused on when and how to communicate information about the project. They discussed the mode and frequency of team meetings and how to set up expectations for meetings. Therese also stressed the importance of determining how to communicate with residents, families, and staff. Strong communication will ensure success of a well thought out PIP. With your team, identify the communication strategies that will work best for your community and document those in your PIP charter. Now, it's your turn to implement a person-centered PIP. Good luck! Refer to preference-based-living.com for additional resources. And always remember, if you focus on results, you will never change. If you focus on change, you will get results.